am Amalek, a wizard, and most importantly, a story keeper and teller. That is why we are here today, to tell you a story. This story that I'm about to tell you is the very first to hit my ears, so I think it's very fitting that it's the first that I tell you. Let me see here. Where could I have placed it? Ah, there it is. This is the story of Ivor Hamundson. Let's begin, shall we? Here you see Ivor Hamundson, a very simple man, hardworking and dedicated to his work. He lives on a farm located just on the outskirts of a town named Whiterun. He's worked here for as long as he could remember. Ivor enjoyed working there for the most part. It had a great view around, and he took delight in the work he did. But he wasn't really satisfied with his life. One day, Ivor headed into town to sell some crops in the market and buy some new tools and supplies. While in the Drunken Huntsman, the storekeeper mentioned something to him about a mercenary that came into Whiterun, and said that she's sitting right on the other side of the room. The first thing that popped into Ivor's head was adventure. Maybe this is what he was looking for. The next day on the farm, Ivor couldn't stop thinking about the day before. Maybe he could hire the mercenary, and she could teach him how to handle a sword and go on great journeys throughout the land of Skyrim. This idea pestered him even throughout the evening, while he looked up at the fair night. He thought to himself that there wasn't really anything left for him working on the farm. Therefore, Ivor decided right then that it was time for him to leave the farm. Ivor delayed his leave to a week later to get all of his possessions in order. When this was finished, he said his final farewells and started his expedition. Walking up to this mercenary was nerve-wracking to Ivor, but he did it nevertheless. The two of them had a lengthy chat about their prior lives and what he wanted out of hiring her. She decided to give Ivor a chance, even with his lacking experience. So there be it. This was his new life. A new beginning, you could say, with a new friend, Janessa. The training began right away. She gave him a great sword, and he began training on the simplest of opponents. This didn't last long though, as Ivor learned with ease. he ranked up in skill and began fighting more impressive foes. He became very dangerous with a blade in his hand, and anyone who was on the other side got decimated. Ivor changed into a new person, some for the better and some for the worse. Ivor craved for more feats to appease himself with, causing them to see gratifying sights, which was exactly what he was looking for. But just as you see great things, you also come across some things that your eyes cannot unsee. One day, Janessa and Ivor were crossing the lands when they came across a tower that was heavily destroyed. They decided to see what was going on. Guards were talking about a dragon that came over destroying it. This thought was silly to their ears. Dragons? That's just in the legends. Just as those thoughts were made, a dragon soared through the sky, and a battle commenced. Help came from different sorts, as was needed, because this dragon wasn't going to go down easily. At last, some heavy blows to this monster finally put it to rest. After traveling Skyrim for a lengthy time, it came with much ease that the two of them should get married. So they caught a carriage and made their way just for that reason. Many years later, growing both into elderly beings, their adventures still carried on. Maybe not as much as they would have liked, but still, they enjoyed how their lives were being lived. News came to them about a group of giants that were terrorizing anyone who passed by. They couldn't pass this up, so they went to go take them out. Ivor handed the first blow to these giants. These beasts were relentless, causing great damage to the two of them. The battle raged on as they couldn't take the giants out. Janessa took a heavy hit that took her down, but she seemed okay. This was not the case though. A little later on, Ivor noticed no movement coming from her. He knew what had happened. This angered him more than ever and let out a tremendous yell, making the giants leave. This was too late though. She had already passed. Ivor felt much guilt as he walked up to her body. Was there more that he could have done to prevent this? There was really no way of telling. Ivor thought that Janessa's body should be dealt with in the most respectful way, being cremated by the fire where she died, doing something she loved. Ivor laid down his sword that day with Janessa. This was his way of saying his goodbyes, and that his adventures were over. He made his way back to the only other place he thought he could, the farm. Ivor lived in remorse and anger for the next couple of years, until one night came great peace to him for the first time in a while. He looked up at the fair night as the rain fell down. Just like how his adventures long before started, was the same way he started his adventures in a new place.